spanning over various genres. Legendary Miriam Makeba, before his 1990 freedom, called him a precious piece of ground, while Hugh Masekela prayed for his freedom alongside Paul Simmons. South African pop giant Brenda Fassie called him the Black President. The hip-hop community also added its voice to the songs of Mandela, calling him the prophet of the city.
94, Mandela punt up 94, apartheid up and drop 94, POC now go up 94.
In Nigeria, popular entertainers were all inspired by the tales of the man proudly called Tata, meaning Papa in his native tongue. Majek Feshek, Sonia Kosun, Fuji icon Koleti Naila saluted the African symbol of freedom. The legacy of this Nobel Peace Prize winner will endure not just within the folds of history books, but also forever in the hearts of people around the world, inspired by Mandela's fight for peace and freedom.
To other news now, the United States government has always advocated a multifaceted approach to tackling insecurity. It is an approach they strongly recommend for Nigeria in the fight against insurgents in the north, and one that was once again emphasized by the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Mrs. Linda Thomas-Greenfield, during her visit to Channels Television headquarters here in Lagos. She was received by the chairman, CEO, Mr. John Momo, and some senior management staff. Mrs. Thomas-Greenfield has been in the country to follow up on President Barack Obama's meeting with President Goodluck Jonathan on the sidelines of the last UN General Assembly meeting in New York. She's expected to meet with government, business, and civil society representatives to continue to build U.S.-Nigeria partnership. Speaking later in an interview with our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, she shared America's eagerness to help Nigeria explore other strategies for fighting insurgency.
Fighting terrorism is very complex, and it requires more than just security tools. Security tools deal with the security threats, but there are also related threats to communities. The people in those areas where Boko Haram is operating are victims of Boko Haram, but sometimes in the process they become victims of the actions of the government to deal with Boko Haram. So we want to continue to have discussions with the Nigerian government, share with them the experiences that we have had in dealing with counterinsurgencies and the impact that that has on civilian populations so that the civilian populations can be protected. In addition to that, in the case of Nigeria, we also want to look at the development needs of that region because there are many people who feel disaffected. They feel that the government is not there for them, and because of that, they are enticed or become witting supporters of Boko Haram. And so those social and political infrastructural requirements also need to be addressed. President Goodluck Jonathan was in Gombe announcing something called similar to a Marshall Plan for that area, and that is something that we welcome because we think it will show the community that the government is there for them.
U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Mrs. Linda Thomas-Greenfield. Well, the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, has proposed the establishment of a seed sector and fertilizer investment funds to stimulate accelerated joint investment in fertilizer and seed production in the country. The minister made the suggestion to ministers of agriculture from 8 developing countries at the D-8 Agricultural Ministerial Meeting on Food Security in Abuja. The developing 8 countries, including Indonesia, Malaysia, and Bangladesh, are looking at 4 priority areas to boost agricultural productivity, manufacturing, trade, and export in their countries.
Some bunches of make sure that
Ministers and key players in the agricultural sector of 8 developing countries at the 4th D-8 Agricultural Ministerial Meeting aimed at addressing the challenges and task of putting food on the tables of citizens of member countries. Key among the issues addressed here are ways to frontally attack poverty by promoting all instruments that will boost agricultural productivity across the countries.
Seed bank, fertilizer, animal feed, standard and trade issues, and marine and fisheries have been outlined in the Kuala Lumpur initiatives, Tehran initiatives, and Mataram initiatives 2012 to address sustainable agricultural growth and food system transformation.
Nigeria parleys alongside Iran, Egypt, Pakistan, Turkey, and 3 other countries, with the uniting factor being that they make up 13% of the world's population and 60% of the world's Muslim population. This makes their task at cooperation easier in terms of what must be done.
What is needed is for the D8 to establish a seed sector investment fund that will support joint investments in expanding the size of our seed sector across our countries. We'd like to propose as a country the establishment of D8 Halal Meat Investment Commission to drive the development of technical capacity, investments, certification, market, and trade development for halal meats.
To ensure a future of food security in member nations, that's the task of these key players, and their drive is hinged upon the fact that no country can assert itself or be termed truly sovereign unless it can feed itself. Omelogo Nadi, Channels Television News.
It may have been a thing of joy to see a Nigerian elected president of the International Civil Aviation Organization, but that has also thrown up challenges for the country. This is according to the Senate President, David Mark, who has urged the Aviation Minister, Stella Odua, to quickly address the burning issues in the sector. Senator Mark was speaking when the Minister of Aviation and Nigerian-born president of the International Civil Aviation Organization, Olumuyiwa Aliyu, visited him in his office in Abuja. On her part, the Aviation Minister thanked the lawmakers for their support towards the emergence of Dr. Aliyu as the first African to head the 69-year-old organization.
The fact that you are there now, Honorable Minister, means that the aviation industry in Nigeria must meet international standard, because you cannot be there and be shouting and be claiming if your own home or backyard is not good enough. So it's also a challenge to the aviation industry in Nigeria that having a man as the president there means that our aviation industry must be safe. And I know you are going through turbulence at the moment in the aviation industry, but that should not become a permanent issue. We must get that resolved as quickly as possible so that we can guarantee safety in the aviation industry.
Your Excellency, this is a manifestation of what the ministry, what the government in particular has done in uplifting safety in aviation. And so, Your Excellency, proudly today, I want to present to you the proud son of Nigeria, Dr. Aliyu, the first ever black president of ICAO. I want to congratulate you, Your Excellency.